Hi, everybody. I'm John Carvello, president of Stono Capital and Divestopedia. This is our masterclass on selling a mid-market business. In this class, we are talking about definitive agreements. I'm joined by my peer of world-class investment banking experts, Michael Carter, managing partner at Carter, Morse & Goodrich in Southport, Connecticut, Simon Davies, managing director at Spectrum Corporate Finance in the UK, and Bill Snow, managing director with Jordan Knopf and Company in Chicago, Illinois. Simon, we'll start with you today. Once exclusivity is given to prospective buyers, the process moves over to the preparation of definitive agreements. Can you outline the role for the lawyers, investment bankers, and sellers at this point of the process in the preparation of these definitive agreements?
Sure. It actually doesn't immediately move to the legal agreements because what needs to happen first is the buyer will commence their due diligence if they've not had vendor due diligence done already. And that means that we have to open a data room to the buyer, and then we have to make sure that they fully understand the aspects of the business. And a lot of people prefer to get that bit done before the SPA, the sale and purchase agreement, as we call it here in the UK, is commenced, because they want to know what warranties to put in that legal agreement, and that will depend on what information they get out of the data room around, just understanding the business and how the business operates and performs. So once it does move to the agreements, the lawyers, the buyer's lawyer will tend in the UK to do the sale and purchase agreement. It's not, that's not always the case, but that's what tends to happen. They will do the first draft of the sale and purchase agreement. From our perspective, we will always review the sale and purchase agreement to make sure that the commercial terms are correctly stated within that. And very much the seller's lawyers will be obviously reviewing and negotiating that agreement. And you certainly don't want to get caught in the crossfire of two lawyers in the early stages negotiating an agreement, because they tend to be, have very much a buyer's friendly version or a seller's friendly version, and you want to get them closer together before you wade in and try and deal with some of the key points as the lead investment banker in terms of those negotiations. Let them sort out the drafting and the lawyer points first, rather than being caught in the middle of that.
Simon, that's a great overview. Thank you. Bill, do you see that that's a similar process in the U.S.? Oftentimes I've seen that, it's often the seller's lawyer that maybe likes to take the first drafting of the agreement. But what are your views on just the process of the definitive agreements?
Yeah, that's been the case for the most part, especially for the size of transactions and the type of transactions that we work on, which I think are similar to what Simon and Michael do. Typically, the buyer's counsel, the buyer's attorney is going to put that first draft together. And one of the things that we always look at is how one-sided is it? Is it fair and reasonable, or is it completely overboard in terms of preference for the buyer? I do agree you want the lawyers to hammer out what they're going to hammer out. We're going to focus on the business terms, let the lawyers hammer out the legal terms. We'll have a lot of conversations as well, because it is collaborative. And the key thing there is so important, because the lawyers become so important in this process, is to make sure the attorneys that you're working with have actually done M&A transactions before of this type. If they have, they might be a capable attorney with contracts or some other aspects, but if they haven't done a business sale or a capital raise transaction, I would not recommend that you use them for this particular legal aspect.
Agree 100% on that. Michael, can you add to some of your comments and some of your experience on this process of the definitive agreements?
Yeah, I can't tell you how important what Bill just said is. I mean, so many people say, well, I have known this lawyer for decades. He's my closest friend. If they're not an experienced M&A attorney, let him assist somebody else. I would say two things. One is we investment bankers can do, I think, a good job reducing that legal risk, and we do that with a really detailed LOI. And so it's very helpful, instead of giving the lawyers a 2-page LOI and say draft versus a 7-page LOI, and a lot of things are flushed out. So I think we can, I would highly recommend that strategy. And the second thing that we've done on our larger transactions, let's say over $100 million, is we provide a purchase and sale agreement that's drafted that on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being seller friendly, it's maybe a 6. And so you're starting with, something that's reasonable, and you're going to get there much faster. You're going to save a lot of time and anguish, and keep a full head of hair if you started with one. So that's something that's interesting. Some sellers, some buyers hate that. But at minimum, what they do is they give a page or two of a write back of issues, and what you're getting then is an offer, and you can see who's going to be really difficult in terms of this process and who's going to be a little on the kinder and gentler side. But it's something that you're doing before going exclusive with someone, and it, I think, encourages reasonableness in an area that can be very, very frustrating for sellers.
Mm-hmm. And we've talked about this before, but in that process, with $100 million plus deal, I mean, that's a real attractive asset to pull off that strategy, isn't it, Michael?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, for sure.
We've certainly doing it on one that's only 16 million deal size. And we're putting a draft sale and purchase agreement in the data room. We're not asking them to mark it up, but we are asking them to give us an issues page of where they would need to change the drafting in terms of that agreement. And actually, we're doing it that way because there's some good competition for the asset, but also we want to ensure, a quick process. But in that type of process where you provided vendor due diligence alongside, it's much easier to do because they've seen all the information, and they can then give a clear view in terms of, are there any changes that they want to make in terms of the warranties. But we still do find, typically, if you've not done the vendor due diligence up front, that a buyer will want to do the legal contract because they'll want to review the due diligence first.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.